I sure hope Fushun didn't destroy your wallets like she did for me, cause we're getting Jingliu and Topaz for the Star Rail 1.4 update. How's it going, everyone? This is Kay, and let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the 3 featured characters and who you should pull for on the upcoming banners. Starting with Jingliu, she's a Destruction Ice character whose primary kit revolves entering an enhanced state called Spectral Transmigration. Her basic is a normal single target attack which you won't really use. Her skill and ultimate will be her primary way to attack, more so because of the stacks it provides. This skill is a single target attack that provides 1 Syzygy stack. Her ult is a single target that deals adjacent damage, and it'll also provide 1 stack. So the stacks are important because of her talent. When Jingliu possesses 2 stacks, she'll automatically go into the enhanced state, which gives a huge crit rate buff depending on the talent skill level, around 40% at level 1, so it's a major boost that will offer stat flexibility for relics. On top of that, she gets a 100% action advance when entering the enhanced state. Now, when she's in this state, you can't use her basic attack, only her ult and her new skill. Whenever Jingliu attacks, she drains all other party members' health at 4% of their max HP. You won't have to worry about them dying though, as the drain cannot kill them. Now, on the plus side to having your allies' HP drained is that Jingliu's attack stats gets a huge buff whenever she attacks at 540% of the total HP that was drained, capped between 90% to 225% of her base attack, depending on the talent's level from 1 to 15. Keep in mind, numbers can change post-release. The drained isn't bad, but having an ally like Lil Cha can help gain back the loss in health. She can possess up to 3 stacks, and if she has 0 stacks remaining, Jingliu will lose her enhanced state. So while she's enhanced, her skill changes and will deal stronger single target damage, provide a bit more energy regeneration, and will also deal adjacent damage. Using this skill does not consume SP, but will remove 1 stack, and as I said before, 0 stacks means goodbye Spectral State. This is where you want to use her ult after entering the Spectral State in order to extend her enhancement, because it'll provide 1 stack upon use, which means you'll max out the stacks limit, giving you 3 enhanced skill attacks, and the ult will be stronger because of the talent's buff. Additionally, her A6 trace increases her ult's damage while in the Spectral State. Other abilities she has is that her A6 increases effective resistance while in that Spectral State, and A4 gives a small advance forward when using her regular skill. This can help slightly with turns because you want to use her skill twice to enter enhancement, not skill and ult. Bronya can help tremendously with this. Jingliu's technique creates a dimension around her that will freeze enemies. When going into battle, she gains 1 stack and regenerates some energy with a chance of freezing enemies. So let's be honest, most of us can't afford higher Eidolons, but her E1 buffs her crit damage for 1 turn when using her ult or enhanced skill. Also, if there's only 1 enemy on the field, it will add the damage that was meant for adjacent enemies to that target, so basically more damage when fighting a single enemy. At E2, it buffs her next enhanced skill attack after using her ult. At E4, it increases her health draining's buff and raises the cap percentage, so even more damage. Lastly, E6 gives 1 stack upon entering the Spectral State, maxing the limit, and will increase the crit damage by a lot. So an obvious issue with Jingliu is that she drains everyone else's health. I can't really call this an issue though, cause their drain is so little, but typically with 3 enhanced skills and an ult means everyone will lose 16% of their health, aside from Jingliu, of course. Again, it's not bad, but if you have weak sustain characters, consistently losing your health no matter how small certainly isn't a good thing. Another issue is that her energy requirement for her ult is quite high, being at 140. Yes, her enhanced state increases energy regeneration for her skill, but at 140, it's still above the norm, which makes sense because you spamming her ult is a bit too powerful. Her speed at 96 is also on the lower side compared to others. On the good side of things, she's a very solid DPS character, especially thanks to that crit rate buff when she's enhanced, which makes her so much easier to build compared to other DPSs. You can concentrate on attack percentage and crit damage stats, or speed if you want to. Another plus is that she doesn't consume a lot of SP, aside from the -2 in order to gain the required stacks. In terms of character synergy, Bronya for obvious reasons, but Pella being SP positive and a fellow ice user means she's amazing with Jingliu. Topaz is a fire hunt character who revolves around follow-up attacks, mainly from her adorable pet Numby. If you're familiar with Jingliu's Lightning Lord, Numby is similar and acts as an auto-attacking 5th party member with its own speed stat. But first, Topaz's basic will be considered a follow-up attack after unlocking her A2, and that plays into her skill. The skill will mark one enemy with a proof of death state, which increases the damage they receive from follow-up attacks. It's very helpful for herself obviously, but can benefit other allies who also has follow-up attacks. Only one target can have the mark, and the amazing thing about this skill is that it can auto-assign the proof of death to a random target if no enemies have the mark. Because of this feature, it means you can conserve a lot of SPs, but as mentioned before, it's random, so if you don't like who got it, you can manually select a new target by using her skill, which will consume 1 SP, and have Numby deal single target damage. Also, whoever is marked will be the attacking target for Numby when it moves. So for example, let's say there's 2 enemies, and you kill the one with a mark, then the proof of death will automatically affect the surviving target. No need to reapply the effect. But let's talk about Numby, which comes from her talent. When it moves, it'll auto-attack whoever has the proof of death. The attack itself scales with Topaz's attack stats and will count as a follow-up attack, which means more damage. Additionally, when the marked enemy gets hit with any of your team's follow-up attacks, Numby's turn will advance forward. Its own attack, however, will not trigger this effect. Again, this can be beneficial in using additional characters with follow-up attacks. As mentioned before, Topaz's basic is considered follow-up as well after unlocking her A2. On top of all that, Topaz's ults can significantly speed up Numby's turn. When activating it, it'll put Numby into an enhanced state for 2 attacks. While in this state, its damage multiplier gets a huge boost, and it'll gain a crit damage buff. Most importantly, when the enemy with the mark gets hit with any of your team's basic, skill, or ult, Numby's action will move up. Because of this, your supports can help Numby attack faster. A4 Trace increases the duel's damage against enemies with fire weakness, and for her A6, whenever Numby attacks while in its enhanced state, Topaz gets 10 energy. Lastly, using her technique summons Numby into the world, and it'll find treasures and trotters within a distance. When Numby attacks an enemy to initiate combat, Topaz regenerates some energy. Now, when you complete a battle after using her technique, you can gain extra credits. That's right, money. Don't celebrate though, because you're not gonna get rich off of this, and it's not a farming method. It's a pitiful amount, to the point where even poor homeless NPCs will find it insulting. Worse off, there's a max cap you can earn for the year, so that's just awful. It's not good. But using her technique in the simulated universe gives you extra fragments and a small percentage of getting a random curio. Topaz's E1 puts another negative state to marked enemies who are hit with follow-up attacks. It goes into effect one time in a single action and will increase the crit damage for the attack. E2 regenerates small amounts of energy to Topaz when Numby attacks. E4 advances Topaz's action when Numby takes its turn, and at E6, it'll raise Numby's enhanced attack limit to 3 and buffs its fire resistance penetration. So Topaz is an SP positive damage dealer since the proof of death can auto apply. Even if you use her skill to mark a specific enemy, the mark won't disappear until they die, which will then transfer to a random target. The increase in follow-up damage can be beneficial to others. Now, there's comments saying that Jingliu can benefit greatly from this. Yes and no. It's true, his Lightning Lord's damage will increase, but keep in mind, its attack is randomized, and only the marked enemy will receive more damage. It's out of your control, but in single target situations, then it'll be better. But now you'll have 2 different elements as DPSs, so I'm not saying she's bad for him or she's great for him. These are just things you have to consider while playing the game. If anything, Himiko has better synergy because both are fire units. Also, Topaz and Clara can be very strong. But the thing is, do not limit her as a buffer. That's not her role. It's a bonus. She is a damage dealer who buffs herself and is one of the few fire DPSs you can use as of now. Himiko is a standard 5-star, meaning a lot of players won't have her, and if she wasn't chosen for the free selection, then you're just gonna have to wait for the gacha luck to kick in. Hook, and possibly the new 4-star, which focuses on burn DOT. Finally, a major weakness is her hunt path. Being limited to single target is the worst for fighting multiple enemies, which is typically why players prefer destruction paths as the golden standard. Topaz will be slow for those fights. Does that mean she's bad? No, absolutely not, but it's something you have to consider when pulling. Finally, we have Seele, who is a returning character. She is an S tier character as of now. If you miss her initial release, now's your second chance to get her. Basic is a regular popular single target that you'll use only if you need to generate SPs, otherwise you'll spam her skill for more damage. Her skill is a single target that increases her speed by 25% for 2 turns. This allows you to use her basic attack without needing to constantly reapply the skill to maintain the buff. But as I said before, if SP isn't needed, then spam her skill as it's more damage and more energy regeneration. It also has 4 hits on the attack, which is important as each crits are triggered by individual hits. Seele's talent is the reason why she's such a powerful unit. When killing an enemy with her by using basic skill or ult, she will enter a buff state for 1 turn. This grants her a significant damage boost to her attacks and will give an extra turn to her. Keep in mind, extra turns is not follow-up attack, so no, you can't throw Topaz in with her. Now, despite being a hunt character, she can take out a wave of enemies one by one, which is why she's so good. The talent cannot be triggered again when she kills during the extra turn that was provided, meaning she cannot infinitely loop her talent because that would be too broken. There is ways to attack multiple times with using her ult. As long as she kills outside her extra turn, she can gain the buff. So technically you can kill, gain the extra turn, ult kill, and gain the extra turn again. Her ultimate is quite simple as it's a hard-hitting attack that immediately puts her into the buff state before the damage so you can deal even more damage. It is a single hit though, so if the crit misses, well, there goes a lot of your damage. A neat trick when fighting 2 or more enemies is that you can use her ult immediately after killing an enemy. This can help you trigger her ult before the extra turn so that you can recharge energy more efficiently. A2 triggers when her HP is 50% or lower and will reduce the chance of her being attacked. A4 increases her quantum resistance penetration while in her buff state, and A6 advanced forward her action while using basic. For Eidolons, E1 increases crits rate by 15% when hitting enemies with 80% HP or lower. E2 allows her speed buff to stack 2 times, E4 regenerates 15 energy to her when she kills enemies, and E6 will put a debuff state onto the target for 1 turn after using her ult on them. They'll receive more quantum damage, scaling to Seele's ult damage every time they are hit. So Seele is still a phenomenal unit. The fact that every time a potentially good DPS comes out, players say it's the death of Seele, meaning she's the benchmark of DPSs. As we get more DPSs, she may or may not be overshadowed, but keep in mind, she synergizes with powerful teams. As an example, Imbiber de Lune is an amazingly powerful DPS character. This does not mean he replaces her. Seele still has her worth, especially within Quantum Mono teams with Silverwolf and Fu Xuan. Seele and Bronya are still godly together. Not exactly free-to-play teams, but Seele is still powerful because of her potential team setups. So who should you pull for? If you want to stay on the safe side, top priority should be Seele because she's an established S-tier character with an established team. Even after the release of other strong DPSs, Seele is still a high damaging unit thanks to her extra turn playstyle and, as I mentioned, her teams. A huge weakness, however, is that if you're facing multiple high HP bosses, since she lacks an AoE and killing enemies is what gives her that mob clearing ability, this means battles can be a bit slower compared to AoE DPSs. Jingliu, on the other hand, are competing with recently released DPSs that are very similar, like Imbiber Lune and Blade, and if you have existing DPSs with strong AoE capabilities, then you may not need her. Now, this doesn't devalue her as she's still very strong, and Jingliu has an amazing high investment freeze team you can build, consisting of Pella, Gepard, and Silverwolf. So as a typical DPS unit, she may lose value over time. Now, I would recommend Seele slightly above Jingliu because Seele's team are slightly better in comparison. And Topaz, on the other hand, despite her weakness, can offer that follow-up boost, which I know, I say don't treat her as a buffer, but it's still a supportive skill that can help current units and even potentially synergize with future characters. She can act as a sub-DPS and a damage booster. But if you're lacking in reliable AoE DPSs, especially an Ice DPS, Jingliu can help, and I would recommend her if that's the case, especially since in terms of other Ice DPSs we have, Yanqing is the most reliable one so far, and opinions are split on him. With the right build and support, Jingliu is going to hit really hard, but as I said before, she doesn't offer anything too unique or different and may get outshined when the game eventually releases another Ice DPS. Now, I would recommend Topaz above Jingliu. Her fast attacks combined with her damage support gives her more potential, as I said before. Yes, Jingliu can out-damage Topaz, but with some existing characters having decent synergy with her already, as mentioned before, and most importantly, new follow-up characters being released in the future, future, which will happen, trust me, Topaz can offer more in comparison. So in summary, go for Seele for the safe option since she's an established S-tier character, go for Jingliu if you lack AoE DPSs, and go for Topaz if you want a more future-proof character. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to comment down below to let me know who you're pulling for on the 1.4 banners. For myself, I'm obviously pulling for everyone, but for you, let me know who. Are you going for the new characters, or if you don't have Seele yet, are you going for her? Or maybe you want higher Eidolons for Seele. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for future Star Rail and Genshin Impact videos. Good luck on your pulls, everyone. Till next time.